Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Canada was one of the most peaceful countries of the world where law and order was observed in an exemplary manner, where the violent crime was there but minuscule as compared to the other countries vis-a-vis considering population. And now there has been a rapid decline in the law and order, and the graph goes up as far as the violent crime is concerned. Is it because of changing modes of society? Is it because of the advent of the large population and immigrants and even some criminals under the guise of refugees? Or is it a willful, sinister design by the government, the party in power, the political? I don't know. But then look at the reality. September 4, Saskatchewan, the most peaceful place, is gripped by terror. The James Smith Cree Reservation, and two persons, Miles Sanderson and his brother Damien, go on a stabbing spree, murdering 10 people, injuring 18. 10 people killed by stabbing only. Over the next 3 days, hundreds of the police officers are on a manhunt, and ultimately they find Damien stabbed to death at one of the 13 places they visited. Police was finally able to stop this mayhem, this murder. But at what cost? It was a high-speed chase, and then the murderer died in custody after being in medical distress. Now, this mass murder is just one of the tragedies, but it made headlines around the world. How could something like this happen in one of the most peaceful places in the world? It appears that violence is linked to drug and gang activities. That's right. As a matter of fact, nobody can deny that crime has always been there. And there would always be criminals, but this sort of a mass murdering. Now look at it. This guy had 59 criminal convictions and he was just 32 years of age. At the age of 32, you have 59 criminal convictions and yet you are roaming out free. There must be something tragically wrong with the justice system. He started smoking marijuana at the age of 12. Cocaine use shortly afterwards. Between 18 and 32, he was charged with 125 crimes. These included 2 attempted murders, 18 assaults, 3 break-in entries, and 4 of the assaults were stabbing using knives, forks, stole cars, robbed a Subway restaurant, broke into liquor houses, threatened to kill people, walked naked in the elementary schools, resisted police when they caught up with him, and once kicked an officer on the face and head. But when he got to the courtroom, his charges were withdrawn. This is what I am saying is the wrong message being sent. He breached his bail condition 65 times. And he always had drug, weapons and everything. And weapons were not registered weapons. He was given a parole and the parole board said it was their opinion that you would present no risk to the society. And at the time of killing these 10 people, murdering 80, he was, in fact, violating his parole. As a matter of fact, the Canadian criminal system is extremely defective. It allows a career criminal and deranged individual to wreak havoc. You have seen people who have been deported and they come back. One person was deported 5 times from the country and 5 times he came back and there was no check. But the real people, either they don't get a visa, if they get a visa, they are thrown back and this is not an isolated case. The government of Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau is taking more steps to release criminals into the Canadian states, and that's what I'm saying is sinister design. This is another trend by the radical left governments around the world, and that is erode the rule of law. Now look at the rising trend of the violence. In 2021, violent crimes increased 5%, and if compared to 2020, there were 25,500 more criminal cases. And the crime was primarily driven, according to Stats Canada, it's a government publication. A large rate in the level of sexual assault, 18%. Murder increased from 29 in 2022, 20 to 788 in 1 year, from 29 to 788. 41% increase in murder were firearms. 46% of those were to be gang related. And looking at the ever increasing population, the largest number of raw murders in the country's history were in 2021. What has happened in 2022 we'll know after a couple of months. And you see, between 1970s and 80s, there was spasm of violence. But the total number of Canadian murders rarely peaked above 700. And now, this is on October 18. RCMP constable was stabbed to death in a homeless camp in Bombay. And who was the criminal? Jong Won Ham, wanted on a run from a violent crime committed in March. From March to October, they could not arrest him. And when he was arrested, he was released. He didn't come to the court. And prior to that, he was booked on the charge of assault and willfully resisting a peace officer. This is not just happening in West Coast. Let me tell you. I talked of Saskatchewan. Look in Ontario. In June 2021, Police Department of St. Thomas released court filing to CBC that the system of Ontario catch and release. A 27-year-old arrested 30 times, charged with 86 criminal codes, with 22 charges relating to break, theft, possession of property, crime, break-in, violent crime, 6 charges, 58 charges were failing to comply with the release order, 59 charges were withdrawn overall, 13 trespasses cases, and he is released. These people, if they are psychologically sick, should be in mental hospitals. If they are criminal, they should be in jail. There is no second thought. And yet, the government policies catch a person who has committed a crime and they release him. It's a criminal justice system which is at fault. And this is happening all over the country. Mayors and the police departments across Canada have asked for the laws to be changed. But the Trudeau government is bent on loosening the restraints. Are you aware that many laws passed by the Harper government were repealed by Trudeau government because they were, I call them, harsh. On March 29, 2018, the government introduced Bill C-75. And the bill amended the criminal code to say, legislate a principle of restraint for police to ensure. Now this is what is laughable. The release of the earliest opportunity, and that has to be favored over detention. So arrest a person, and instead of detaining him, release him. The bail conditions should be reasonable, relevant to the offence, and surety should be imposed only when less onerous forms of release are inadequate. So no surety is required. Just, well, sir, I'll promise not to do it, and you work off free. This principle of restraint has forced the police departments to release criminals at the earliest opportunity, understanding that they would be repeat criminals, and as we have seen, 79 cases, 60 cases, 40 cases. Then the role played by the Supreme Court is equally shameful. They have struck down several tougher sentencing laws passed by the government of Stephen Harper, as I said. Some of the laws struck down have been included. For example, one law was there to include the requirement for sex offenders to be added to the National Registry of Life. So you are registered, you are a sexual offender once, twice. If you have committed an offense twice of raping a girl or sexually assaulting a person, you should be on the registry. So these laws, 3 laws, were struck down by Supreme Court, and 25 laws were removed by the provincial and the territorial court. So 30 laws made by the Harper to make the system efficient, they were thrown out. So now there is a legislation that will eliminate mandatory minimum penalties for 14 firearms and tobacco-related offences and 6 drug offences. So you can import, smuggle, but you can't keep a gun for legal purposes. Imagine. So this is happening. The left government and the courts continue to relax penalties, and there's an agenda. That's what is a sinister design. The solution to the practical rising crime, according to Trudeau government, is seize the firearms of the law-abiding Canadians. So despite catch and release, Trudeau government has used the rising crime narrative to ram PC 21, banning nearly all firearms in the country. The fact is now that the government wants to seize guns because they want to seize power. This is a part of the left governments everywhere. It's a pattern that the radical governments, Russia, China, Cuba, gain power. What do? They use a false narrative to seize all means of resistance. And every time there's a mass shooting, even before any facts have come out, they immediately say gun control should be there. What nonsense. A man is mad and you say gun control. And 9 out of 10 cases, the gun is not a legal gun. It's a crime. It's a smuggled gun. It's an unregistered gun. So the purpose is to enact those measures to confiscate all private owned guns. Result: this will leave them with all the firepower and create a training. So this is something which is tormenting the country. The sinister design to have a dictatorial government, authoritarian government, bring in large number of unrequired immigrants, stating that we need labor, forgetting that the unemployment rate already is at its highest. So you are bringing in more people to add to the unemployed, give them social welfare, give them, and then the people on the social welfare indulge in drugs and gangs, leading further to the violent crimes. So a cycle is created. It appears to me that Canada is in the midst of a bitter affliction. It seems like everything is only getting worse, and there is no light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not saying that the government is doing it willfully. Maybe it is. Otherwise, they would have taken action, which they have not. They have not. Rather, they are taking negative actions by removing the guns, which is not relevance. What we need is A, the criminal system has to be set right. The punishment has to be deterrent and effective. And no mercy has to be shown to the criminal. Otherwise, the future is too horrible even to think about. But would the mandarins of Ottawa be listening? I doubt. Nevertheless, I feel pained and agonized at the state of the affairs in this country. But a fall, dear countrymen, from a peaceful heaven to criminal hell. Thank you.